my friends, I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table. And hey, in case you didn't notice, I am tweaking with my intros just a little bit. I actually made about 4 of them late last night after the wife went to bed, and I had some quiet to do it. I don't know how well they're going to turn out. I know in the past I have been struggling with the volume issue on these damn things, and what I'm looking at right now is called Xsplit. So you're viewing a video that's being produced on something called Xsplit, and it has a doohickey down here at the bottom. I don't know, can't really point it. So down right here above my finger is a volume control, and next to it is one for speaker control. And there's a transition doohickey with a number of hotkeys over here that let me transition between different thingamabobs. And then right here above this finger is a record button, which also there's a stream button. So I could do a live stream with this thing. There's also ability over here, so potentially I could link in with 4 other people, I believe. So, I mean, I've been working on this stuff, and I know that some of the volume on some of the old intros can be pretty jarring, and I don't know. Honestly, my issue is I don't know how you're going to hear something. All I know is how I hear things when I replay this video on my laptop with my settings. And so I tried to make some different intros using a music with a different player. So I actually opened a different player program and then ran it in the background while I was recording the video, and I lowered the sound on those considerably. So we're back to that. You have to let me know if you think that the sound is still too loud. I don't know. For me, it doesn't, because I'm controlling the volume on my laptop. And I'm also going deaf in my right ear. I mean, that's not an exaggeration, as much as my wife would like it to be. Too many years of sitting around loud machinery, even with earplugs, they still take their toll anyway. The transitions are experiments, of course. And yeah, I could do the channel without having an intro at all. I could just have bang, there's a place card and move on. And I don't know. I try to make the channel look to be a little semi-professional looking. It just seems right to me to have this. It's just like I have the little ending, and I have a couple of various ending shots, basically cats doing something intelligent looking. I mean, because I'm a cat guy, I'm just kind of that way. So let me know if there's anything else. So what we're looking at here is Mech Warrior's BattleTech role-playing game, second edition. I don't remember buying the first edition rules. I can't say 100% that I don't have them, because I may. I have said. I mean, I have yet to get through half of the books I've got on my shelves yet, for BattleTech Mech Warrior, and all of them, majority of them, FASA products, and I keep buying, much like I said, to my own detriment. I keep buying more because there's so much to catch up on, and it's such a rich environment. I really want to be as up to snuff as I can. I'm holding my coffee. I've had I don't know, I don't want to say it a long weekend. Let's just say it's been a weekend. It's one a working weekend for home. I did some projects here at the house that needed to get done, and I got to go work tonight too. I did said blathered about that a while in my previous video on my books. What books do you? What were your first books and novels, kind of thing? So role playing games are different from tabletop, and I actually been making some notes on. I want to do a video on the differences and the connections between tabletop wargaming and role-playing games, because the evolution of role-playing games in reality are heavily tied to tabletop war games. They came through the initiators of those games, and from both the pen and paper versions of tabletop wargaming and uh, role-playing games. I mean, I'm such an avid fan. I created my own game system years ago, and I babble about it still. Within that system, it's a combination, and it has tabletop wargaming in it. And here's some of my little markers for representing. There's an infantry unit, and there is a motorized vehicle of some sort. It's not infantry because it's not marked as infantry. I think it's a motorized like scout vehicle. And here's countermeasures for +4, and there is a marker for Christ, I don't know what it reads. I write that small back then, right? And there's a hover tank, so on and so forth. So I literally, when I couldn't play, I created a game system that allowed me to play solo, and I really keep poking away at trying to get a digital version of this thing. I know you hear me harp and bitch about it. I got screwed over by Golden Games, and they can go help. They can go screw themselves. I'm going to eventually get this damn thing in a reduced version, and I'm going to post it on drive-thru as free, just to give it away, because I didn't spend 10 years to not have it get out there for somebody else to make some, and one person out of a million enjoys it. It's a success. It's all about that. Anyway, so there's a deep connection between tabletop wargaming and role-playing games, and a lot of people don't get that. It's just like video games. Most video games are a derivative of the pen and paper tabletop versions of either a tactical strategy war game or a character-driven, story-based role-playing game, and it's from people who originally cut their teeth on the tabletop paper versions that started programming, went into programming and said, hey, can we make this video game? And if you look at the earliest renditions of the old school games, that's exactly, the war games came first. The table, their version, you know, look at the Nintendo, and this, from those came the simulator versions, and so there's a whole there's several generations of players today who are discovering the intricacies and detail and the fun of pen and paper versions of their favorite video games, and for their, where us older folks, we came up the other way around. We cut our teeth on this material and then graduated to video games, of some sort or another. I play video games. I play them all the time. I just can't play the expensive high-end tactical ones, really elaborate ones, because once again, my laptop is pretty base. I haven't had a tower in 20 years. It's just not in the market for, or in the budget for something that elaborate, and then they constantly need to be maintained and updated. This laptop's already 2+ years old, and another year or two it's going to absolutely have to be replaced, because it will. The fact of it ain't had an issue, you know, so far. It's a beautiful thing, because I would totally be hosed if it goes down right now. I mean, I have my old one back here, it's back up, but it's such a pain in the ass. They all get there as it is. Currently, I'm playing something called Dwarf Fortress. Yeah, you know, Google that, Wikipedia. So we look at Mech Warrior, the role-playing game, and if you're not familiar with role-playing games, basically you're going to go on you're going into the intimate, personal shoes of your player character. If you're a Mech Warrior pilot and your mech unit is, or your Mech Warrior is part of a lance, part of a company, on the tabletop, you have stats for the individuals that are your pilots, and that's about the end of it. But if you want to actually have non-combat interaction or personal combat interaction between them, usually this is what leads you to the role-playing game versions. And that's how a lot of the, like, Dungeons and Dragons initially became what it is because Gary Gygax and a buddy of his were huge into tabletop wargaming, and they wanted to go into greater detail. They wanted more personal combat. They wanted more depth, and they wanted to bring story, and next thing, one little thing leads to another, then expands and expands, and that's what we are now. We are, you know, Gary Gygax would be both amazed, maybe appalled, and a little bit surprised by just how complex and wide ranging gaming has become in the last, over the 40 odd years. So, like I said, Mechwarrior is a role-playing game that lets players generate characters from both the inner-sphere and the invading clans quickly and easily. Because the rules provide 50 different skills, players can create a wide range of character types, including Mech Warriors, Tech Scouts, Aerospace Pilots, Comstar, Acolytes, Infantry, and Merchants. Combat rules are given for engagement between characters, or players can integrate their characters into BattleTech games so they can take part in everything from a barroom brawl to a full-fledged war. This book contains everything players need to explore whole universe of adventures. So in a nutshell, you are going into much more depth on your character, and this is what traditional battles or role-playing game is. And so we got, you know, a intro story, game mechanics, skill rolls, target numbers, opposing skill rolls, uh, character creation, archetypes that you can get as kind of a package deal, or how to make specific specialty characters. That's the other thing. BattleTech is such a thick, rich, deep universe. There's so much going on. You can actually play entire scenario campaigns and never set foot in a battle mech. Not everybody has to be a mech warrior or an aerospace pilot unless you choose it to be that way. And this gives you that range. This is why there's a lot of supplements for things like uh, special operations and you know, intelligence. So you could be a spy. You could play James Bond in BattleTech and be quite successful at it. I mean, it is the way this thing works out. So we talk about signing packages, purchasing skill sets, intersphere skill packages, expanding package options, random mech assignment tables if that's what you're going to have, advantages, you know, exceptional attributes, ambidextrous, land grants, natural aptitudes, the sixth sense, you know, toughness, etc. Master skill list, right? Skill descriptions, what they are, so computer, bureaucracy, appraisal, administration. Not only does it give you an idea what the concept of that skill is. An escape artist, a character has a skill is working knowledge of all manner of personal restraints and bindings and how to defeat them. You must make a skill roll when scoping out the escape route, slipping bonds or dislocating various joints to create slack in the bonds he will later try to slip. Note, escape artist skill does not include the lock picking ability cover and security system skill, but the two skills can often be used in conjunction. So basically, it gives you in a nutshell what that skill is and what its basic, most commonly applied uses for it is. But you can also use escape artists not just to escape from handcuffs and escape from being captured. Perhaps your mech is crippled in the field and you need to escape the mech before it blows up. This is one of those skill sets, if you have it, can give you an edge in doing so. Jump pack operation, quick draw, piloting, etc. Just goes on to the list. And then we got into character types, different kinds of characters. Like I said, you don't always have to be the Mech Warrior, right? So let's see. Mech Warrior Bounty Hunter, Hot Shot, Grizzled Veteran, Hawking Brute, House Regular. Let's see. Plant Elemental, Arrow Jock, Plant Pilot, Free Trader, Scout. See, in earlier times, this character might also have been called a spy. Though his job requires a variety of illegal acts from simple eavesdropping to murder, malice is seldom involved. The unpleasant role of scouts must sometimes play is simply another harsh reality to war. The scout is his unit's eyes and ears in the world where he is stationed, just as important to use those who pilot the mechs of the main battle force. Living by his guile and wits, he spends much of his time operating independently from the rest of the unit. As a result, his comrades often view him as a loner. And so in your traditional mech lance or company, you might have a recon lance or a couple recon mechs, scout mechs, and that what their job is, they're the range out away from the main body to find the enemy, find the objective, find a safe path to the objective, perhaps find an escape path away from approaching foes, things like this. Well, that same scout pilot might have additional skill sets that allow them to operate outside their mech in similar roles in different applications, just like more complicated ones that can become very spy oriented. So technicians, adapting the original Mech Warrior. You know, I may very well have the original Mech Warrior somewhere. I should have looked it up and made sure of it. I'm kind of babbling on that. Character advancement, skill points, personal combat, movement rules, movement costs, evade. One of those topics that comes up on a somewhat regular basis on all gaming systems or all gaming franchises and stuff is the concept of whether rule sets do you follow them verbatim. This rule set is designed to set up things and play this game in a certain way to give you operational knowledge and how to be consistent. That way everybody at the table everybody that comes to your table are all playing from the same rule book per se. Exactly, right? But we also have this concept of homebrew. They call it homebrew now. We used to call it house rules. Homebrew, right? Anyway, the idea being is that truth is rule sets. If you look at a lot of game systems, they'll tell you from the get-go that they're not, that they're meant to be modified, to be adjusted, to be interpreted to whatever makes your game fun and play. I don't know that this isn't saying this or not. So the Rise version of Mech Warrior has been updated, taking account important new history, technology, accompanying Clan Invasion 3050. Graphics has been meant to refine the game mechanics. Mech Warrior has been divided into several sections for ease, playing the game, running the game, particular importance for Grandmaster. Yeah, it doesn't go in there. Hi, Frankie. How you doing? You coming up here to say hi? Huh? Yeah? Did you coming up to check the bug out? What? Where are you going? You gonna go up there? Yeah? Right? Good job, Frankie. Frankie, that's your other cat. Yeah. Yeah. Mommy said it's supposed to close the door. You gonna behave yourself? Huh? Yeah. Don't step on the laptop. Turd. Right? What? You gonna go up there? No, because you only go back there and grab Mama's dream catcher. You got already stripped 4 or 5 feathers off of that one side already. So, ideally, the argument would be that a lot of players, the rules are there for a purpose, and part of a good game master, good game storyteller, facilitator, whatever the hell you want to call them, dungeon master, should have a good working knowledge of the rules, but the rules are quite vast and extensive. The idea that any one person is going to spend their entire lifetime memorizing and being able to quote these things verbatim is absurd. It's not practical either. More important, this is something I've always believed in my growing up, as when I came up in the hobby, as well as when I went to college, and my instructors kind of reinforced my belief in this, that it's more important to have an understanding that the rules exist, that for the most part, most contingencies have been addressed or covered, so there's a question, and this allows you to be fair and to distribute fairness. So if a character is, in this case, somebody gets unconscious or takes damage that's the point where they may need to make a roll to avoid taking being conscious. Anytime a character takes lethal damage, is make a consciousness roll. With bruise damage, a conscious roll was required only if the victim was hit in the head. Determine the target number. So the basics is your character gets hit in the head, and it's severe enough that you have to decide whether or not this character just got knocked out, or if your non-player character has gotten knocked out. And the having a consistent rule set means that everybody's playing from the same page. Now, if you choose to homebrew it and make alterations and things, that's acceptable. That's fine. That's your game, as long as everybody at the table is aware of that, and you don't make that classic mistake that a lot of GMs will do and players will do, and keep changing. Few things that frustrate people more than saying, well, that's not how we did it last week or last month. That's not what you said when we had this last scenario come up. We want to be consistent. So I've always been a working belief that if you're going to make quote homebrew rules to something, perhaps you better get a sticky note or insert a piece of paper in here with your major changes, whatever the nuances you're going for, and it's in writing and it's in the appropriate location, whether you need to use a paper clip or a staple or whatever to keep it there. That way it's also consistent. I as a player and as a GM, one of my biggest pet peeves is that sort of stuff where we didn't do it this way last time. Well, we're doing it this way. No, you make this agreement. This is consider our home brew, or we follow exactly what the book says, because that's the whole purpose of the book. If you get a different version of the book, obviously things have been changed. Potentially things have been improved or modified to take in other players' issues, and so then that would supplement or surpass earlier versions. Whereas the opposite holds true, and I've run into this discussion more times than I like to count in with various players over the decades as well. The new version 3.0 does not cover something specific, but if you go back to 2.0 or 1.0 first edition rule, it does. Well, if this third edition doesn't address it, first edition rule still applies, because third edition rules either chose to overlook it or chose that just the people in my mind decided there was no reason to readdress it, and they left it as it. And if it didn't get translated or transferred from the earliest edition to the newest edition, there's a lot of reasons for that, including, we forgot to, or because maybe we want to eliminate it altogether. Well, it's a matter, that's where the house rules come in. That's where the homebrew comes in. Homebrew is my rules. I'm the GM. My rules state we use everything in the most current version we have, unless there's an older version that incorporates something that the newer version doesn't, and it's needed. A lot of times, as you get more experience as a game master, you learn to understand to make a judgment call as to what's really needed. It's obvious if Joe hits his head hard enough jumping off of his mech to take enough damage, then he's going to need to roll to see if he's blacked out or not. And there shouldn't be any reason to turn to the rules to do that. Just make the damn roll and see if it happens. So running the game mastering Mech Warrior, running adventures, be confident, be flexible, be merciful, be an example, be a storyteller. All great ideals and concepts if you're going to run things. Keep in mind, as a game master, it's not your job to wipe out your opponent or your players. It's not your job to make their life difficult in a bad way. And sometimes the fun is somebody coming up with something off the cuff and manage to successfully pull it off. And if we say use this skill and that skill and make a roll and they're successful, you betcha. That's what we want. And if they think of something that's not covered by the rules and they're still successful at it, you make that judgment call on the fly and say, okay, roll your 20 and see what you get. And you get something successful, hey, run with it, because everybody has fun with that. Sometimes it doesn't have to be 100% grounded in hard, crucial facts. I have been that rules doctor, rules lawyer, on more occasions than I want to admit, and I have been at the mercy of them more times than I want to admit. And at the end of the day, I find that somebody who wants to sit there and nitpick basic rule sets for half of a game session to be annoying at the best. And I've learned not to do that if I can, to try to do that as a open mind. Being a player, I can be a difficult player, though I admit that, because I've spent, like I said, 85%, 80 to 90% of my game world of 40 years has been me being the game master. It's another reason I have such a library of book material, because I'm the idiot that goes out and buys all the stuff, and it takes a lot of work. It's not as much work to be a player. That's not saying players don't put in work, because they do. It's just that the level of detail and expectations from the players from their game master is different than what the other way around. Although I am an advocate of sharing some of the burden. It's like world building. I've learned through experience and time not to focus on trying to build an entire world or a system for the players to operate in, but to allow them to participate in things, to grow from their actions or inactions, and potentially take input from the players and build upon that as well. It's one of the advantages of role-playing games set in an established system. Mechwarrior is a vast universe with a lot of well-established color and backstory and things like this. So that just means that as a game master, the books are your savior. You don't need to rebuild or repurpose the wheel. You don't need to invent the wheel, because it's already been invented, and there's multiple versions of it, and not even a hover tanks version. So there you go. Adventure sources, adventure types, running a campaign, creating a mech unit, basic steps, determining unit size, determining aerospace support going on. This comes up there's about 7 or 8 different source books that give you the same basic sets of rules. And then you can run into issues with that. So perhaps the unit creation rules for this and the unit creation rules for, for say city tech or something are vastly different, or moderately different. Then you have to make that judgment call. Which one do you apply? Which ones will your group support? And then once again, if you make that choice, I would put a notation in there that that's the choice you made, so that way you can stay consistent with it. That's just my personal opinion, of course. Running the game, fleshing out the equipment, typical assignments, mercenary units, general encounters, operating opposing forces, Starlink facilities, profit-making opportunities, equipment malfunctions, natural disasters, battlefield encounter descriptions, major events, in your equipment section, and there's all the stuff that your character could have access to or may wish to have access to, various goods and sundry, weapon systems, armor systems. This is typical of pretty much every role-playing game out there. Has a section. Some of them have entire source books devoted to it, including BattleTech. Mechwarrior has at least 2 other books that are devoted to equipment, specifically equipment and weapons and systems on the personal scale. And that's part of the game. So we have the BattleTech universe. We're going to go into historical review. This can be found in most of the source books, and in some. So I've always encouraged people to read these things. I studied them, to be honest. I read them so much that I actually started comparing notes and flipping back and forth between books and versions of books, because there's some slight changes and slight differences. And I'll use the, once again, I'm going to do a video on Rondus Nord's regulars. And in the back is a major campaign section where they take on, they basically they go up against the Jade Falcons and they capture a Star League era orbiting asteroid that's capable of maintaining and repairing starships. It's a matter of perspective. So the Jade Falcon clan, the Jade Falcon source book flat out says that they captured a decommissioned, badly needed repaired facility capable of building warships, not maintaining and repairing, but actually building them. And I don't know what the video came, that it was Crescent Hawk's Revenge or whatever the video game that was related to all this stuff, although Crescent Hawks doesn't make sense. Anyway, somebody said there was a video game that this was all based off of. So the fact is, the Clan Jade Falcon source book predates the irregulars. So the rules in there and the world building there stipulates that this is a full-on automated Star League era warship manufacturing facility, whereas this comes out later and it's been changed. It's no longer a warship facility. It's a maintenance and repair ship for drop ships and warship facility, small shipyard that's been heavily damaged and stripped of most of its usable components. So it makes it much less of a valuable location than what it would be in if you follow what's in Jade Falcon's source book. And then you have to make that decision as a game master and as a lover of everything BattleTech. Anyway, I've always felt that the first take of Jade Falcon version was much more suitable and more acceptable than the later adjusted version that they did in here. So anyway, so we got successor states, various key leadership at the moment, major worlds, military forces, mercenary forces, Combine, Federated Commonwealth, Free Worlds League, the Colonial Confederation. Then we got some color symbology and things, nice uniforms and stuff like that to give you a little bit of color and flavor to your story. The clans, knowing your enemy, recognition guide, clan weapon, general weaponry systems, minor powers, Arousal Hag Republic, Arousal Hog Republic. And I'll tell you right now, yeah, I know what the Hague is, but I'm telling you, I've heard plenty of YouTube video providers, and especially in recent months since I started paying attention to it more, call it Hog, Razzle Hog, Razzle Hog, Razzle Hag, Razzle Hog, Razzle Hag. You tell me. I know what I think it should be. I know what everybody says, most people think it should be, and what people tell me it should be. I'm just pointing out to you that pronunciation sometimes is in the dialect of the individual. So the game itself, so New Avalon Institute of Science, the periphery, history, bandit kingdoms, the clans, all this is just general overviews to give you a little bit, still worth reading because it may be giving you a little bit different version of the other source book material that covers the same stuff. Then we get into things like economics, and there's a lot of people like, I don't care about economics, battle mechs, components, and things like this. I don't care about components. Yeah, because you're just in it to do a bunch of bashing and smashing. Surprise mix and scavenging between battlefield repairs, material availability, repair difficulty, time factor, repair platforms, jury rigging repairs. Some of the fun for my friends and I back in the day was during our off time when we weren't at the tabletop playing and gaming or gaming. We would have to figure out how our units made good on the damage and how they got repaired, how long things would take, what they were able to do. And a lot of that's better to be done at home in your own spare time, as long as you're working from the same set of guidelines and rules that everybody else, and you're not hedging your stuff. I'm just saying, I found players that will do that. Hyperspace generators, titles of nobility, origins, holdings, warrior holds, land holds, entitlement, households, household personnel, castles, a lot of more information and details on how this stuff works, how it operates, and so on and so forth. And once again, every look at this adds to the canon, both the rule set and the story set canon. It gives us a deeper, better understanding of the BattleTech universe as a whole and as the individual pieces that we participate in. And it's a beautiful thing. Anyway, this is Rick, and this is Mech Warrior, 2nd edition. Till next time, you guys have a great weekend.